Welcome to the Dom.Hockey Podcast, proudly presented by Bench Rates. Created by a former hockey player, Bench Rates uses a proprietary algorithm to assign a true monetary value to a player's on-ice contributions and lets you compare that value directly to his cap hit. Bench Rates evaluates professional players across leagues worldwide, including the NHL and AHL. Learn more at benchrates.com. Also presented by McKeen's Hockey. McKeen's produces the premier NHL draft guide featuring more than 200 player reports and comprehensive rankings. They also deliver in-depth prospect coverage through their annual team-by-team rankings and their trusted hockey pool yearbook. Visit mckeens.com and subscribe for just $16.50 Canadian for 3 months.
Good Saturday morning and happy 4th of July to those of you listening down here in the U.S. It is time for another episode of Dom.Hockey the Podcast. Dom, we are always excited to get your thoughts on anything Bruins related, and a couple good spots to start from, but I already know where I want to start. Real quick, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm good.
Dom, do we have
Happy
you?
4th of July, everybody. Are you there?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly fine.
Well, happy 4th of July.
You ready to dive right in?
Yeah.
Awesome. First place I want to start, you sent out a tweet yesterday. Obviously, there's been a lot going on around the Bruins and the trade market, and this rumor about the Edmonton Oilers and Boston Bruins having a trade for Darnell Nurse. What can you straighten out for Bruins fans? There's a lot of stuff floating out there. Can you tell us what you know?
I'm just calling up the message. Is basically what I said yesterday. I asked my contact with the Edmonton Oilers whether there was any truth to it, and basically what he said me, there were discussions with the Bruins going back and forth, and it never got to the point where any no movement clause or no trade clause. This Korpisalo earlier, but we're told that the Oilers are on the trade list. That is what everybody is assuming. It was way earlier than the reported deal that killed the trade.
Okay. I think the delay is starting to come down a little bit. Are we good here?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. If it continues, though, we'll do a quick reset and come back. Beamer says that it seems to be your audio that's cutting in and out, but we'll try and do a reset if it continues and hinders the pod. Definitely keep us updated in the comments so that we know if we need to make that reset real quick. Since the last show, though, Dom, they've also had all their draft picks, and they surprised people with a goaltender in the second round. What were your initial thoughts of the draft before we get into who they took?
It was different. I'll just describe it as that.
It's definitely a good brief description of it. I saw all the draft picks at development camp. Ivanov definitely showed me why they took him 56 overall. As far as any of these names, were any of them ones? First of all, I got to compliment you. You called them trading out of the 4th round or down in the 4th round for a pick for next year. You called them drafting a goalie. They end up picking 2. And also, we had previously discussed the trade out of the 1st round. So I'll give you those wins on your predictions there for the draft on what to expect there. Did you think they would take 2 goaltenders, and what do you think of the 2 that they took?
No, I didn't. But first, we have to decide whether we're Americanizing names or whether we're pronouncing names like they are. Like, for example, Daniel Vladar was always known as Daniel Vladar, but it's actually Daniel Vladash. Vasek Blanar is Vasek Blanage. I hear everybody saying Bartholson when it's Bartholson. I hear Van Dieven when it's Van Duven. I hear Ivanov when it's Ivanov. I hear Yemelyanov when it's actually Emelyanov. And those are just confused people. So,
let's
get that
your show, and I know you like. Well, it's your show, and I know you like to be accurate. So let's go with the player's preferred pronunciation. How's that?
Well, we don't know what their preferred is, but anyway, as the pick was made, I was like, "What?" Because I had him late in the 3rd round. But when I thought about it and what I thought about what the Bruins were, and I began to understand it. Like, he's not going to be here in 3-4 years. This pick, whether they should have done it later in the draft or in a different draft, to eventually be a potential replacement for Swayman. By the time he's ready, Swayman's contract is up. That's my opinion. So I understand why they did it. I don't have to agree with it, but that's my point there. Secondly, a lot of people were saying every single one of games are available from start to finish on YouTube or on his team website. A lot of along with Matvey Kotkov in the playoffs, obviously because Kotkov is with Emelyanov, and they played against Ivanov in the playoffs, and he was actually fantastic. Also with this kid, but he's got a long way to go. There's a lot of development ahead for him.
Yeah, I definitely saw the raw talent at development camp. Can I just have you do a quick refresh of your internet browser? We're still getting some people who say it's an audio issue where your audio seems to be cutting in and out. Maybe there's a mic connection or something on your end. For those who are listening later, we'll edit some of this stuff out just so that you don't have to hear this. But for the live viewers, I appreciate you guys commenting us and letting us know. And being able to narrow it down is extremely helpful here. Let me just see. I know there's a little bit of lag. Dom, I'm just going to have you do a reset first, and then when you come back, I'll do a quick reset on my end, and hopefully we can sync up a little bit better, and we can get some feedback that the audio's been taken care of with that. But I'll just build off of Dom's point with Ivanov. The raw talent is absolutely there. You could see it in his play at development camp. You saw it all week. He looked natural in the position. His angles were being cut off extremely nice. He's a little over aggressive at times. He comes out of his crease a little too far, but he is super athletic. And at only 17, the mistakes that you see in his game are ones that you would expect to see from a 17-year-old, and ones that can really grow out of his game. he'll be working with Dunham and with Essenza, so I have no worries about him. All right, Dom, let's see how we got for you for the audio real quick now.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing running other than this. So,
all right. Well, if someone can throw, before I do a reset, I just want to see if we can get a couple comments in there letting us know how the audio is now. And then while we wait for that, Dom, I'm going to ask you to elaborate a little bit more on Kotkov. I just went off a little bit on Ivanov. You can see the talent, though, and I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah. Again, I watched him throughout the season because he plays on the same squad as Emelianov. There's no arguing the talent there. This was a swing, a big swing, and good for them because that's what I've been calling for them to do is take a swing. But he's absolutely got no B game. If he doesn't have the puck or they're not in the offensive zone, there isn't a whole heck of a lot there. So he's going to have to work on that. He's a project, but absolutely in love with the swing, something that they should have done.
Yeah.
And I'm going to draw the similarities to Fabian Lysell. Let's not try and make a player something that he's not. You drafted him for his offensive ability. Yeah, he's got to work on his B game, get a little bit better defensively, but let's not turn him into another Fabian Lysell where you don't put him in a position to play to his strengths.
Yeah, I think the difference here will be 4th-round pick versus a 1st-round pick. But again, the upside is there when it's there. We're getting thumbs up here in the audio department now. So it sounds like everything has been taken care of there. Definitely keep us posted in those comments, though. We want to make sure we sound as good as we can for you. Now, you mentioned Niels Barthelson. I'm going to butcher these names until I hear you say it about 100 times. So
it's here. I'll make it simple for you. Bart. As in Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
Hold, as in hold on to that thought. Son, as in I have a son who has 4 kids, so I have 4 grandkids. And then put it together.
Bart Holtzen.
Yes.
Okay. Looked real good at development camp. Honestly, there were times where I was watching him going, how did he fall to the 3rd round? Obviously, not everyone can be picked in the 1st or 2nd round, and some players have a lot more upside. But he was certainly a standout in camp from the new crop who were there. Not the most standout overall, but of that group, he was definitely up there. Him, Kotkov, you could definitely see. So can you share a little bit more about Bart Holtzen?
Yeah, and without going through the whole list, everybody can go to Dom.Hockey and see it for themselves because I don't want to waste an hour on it. But he is the one guy that they drafted that was on my list. And I think they got him exactly where I had him ranked. Absolutely love the kid. He's got a ton of energy. He fights through bodies. He's not afraid to go to the dirty areas. He plays through checks along the walls. He's great with the puck on his stick, has excellent vision, excellent shot. Yeah, there are those that think he should have gone higher. I think they grabbed him exactly where he should have been. That's not to say that he can't be better than players picked around or above him, because it's there. Again, he's a project. I know there's some questions about whether he's going to go the college route or not. I don't think a decision on that has been made yet. But I will say this, and we'll get into it a little bit later. If you look at how the Bruins through free agency built their Providence roster, they're not into sticking prospects in Providence anymore.
No.
I know Don's Lochmelis is there, but they're into now letting these kids go through college and letting them develop there. the American Hockey League for now, what it looks like for the Bruins is just a holding spot for the end of the year to battle for an NHL spot the next year.
Yeah. I wonder how long Don Melis is for Providence, given, he'll probably start there because of the injury that he's recovering from.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they've been pretty high on this kid. He looked real good. He kind of did that stopgap year already, and then his second year got hurt. So I wonder how long he's there. And then you have a guy like Lucas Reichel down there. These are guys that are going to try and vie for spots out of camp.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the days of sticking prospects in Providence right off the bat are done and over with. They might spend a year there now.
Yep. Yeah, definitely can see that trend. Before we dive into some of the other free agent moves, obviously, because we're in that prospect pool talking about college, there are a few kids in college, well, really only one that we have to worry about this year, but coming up at the end of the next season, 2027, there's a few guys they have to make some decisions on, and most of them were in camp. So I do want to get some of your thoughts on some of those players. The first one I want to start with, though, Cole Spicer had a very strong camp, was consistent throughout the whole thing.
Well, do you want to finish the draft first?
Sure. Who else do you want to touch on the draft?
Well, that's up to you. We didn't touch on everybody, so...
Well, they also selected Olsen, Van Deven. Am I saying that right?
Van Deven.
Van Deven.
That's the way that it was pronounced in junior.
Okay, Van Deven, Jacob Van Deven, Colin McCrate, and Leo Enriquez. I will tell you, Enriquez had a strong glove at camp. Definitely can see why he wasn't selected as high as Ivanov, but there is certainly some raw talent for him as well. And then obviously we had a couple camp invites, including this year's E-Bug, and they all shared the crease at camp. But overall, anything that you want to add on those players or provide just an overall kind of thought process on how those guys were all picked?
Well, from Olsen, Van Deven, McCrate, they're long-term projects. I think the longest one is Van Deven. It's been well talked about. He only just became a defenseman 7 months ago now, I suppose. So the thing to like about him is that he's going into the Dale Hunter camp of making players ready for the NHL. He's got two more years of junior eligibility left. I would love for him to finish them in London, get his game going to where it should be, and then go the college route. Obviously, there's skills there. Playing in junior B, I saw him a lot because I have a junior B team like 3 blocks away from me. So, skill set is definitely there, but this is a long-term project. And the Bruins haven't done well with guys coming out of major junior, letting them walk or trading them, i.e. Brett Harrison, Jackson Edward. Edward I give a pass to because of the family issues he went with. There was Reed Dick. I mean, the list goes on and on and on where the Bruins haven't done well with them. A lot of that has to do with, as well, is you've only got 2 years to sign him. And once you do, you stick him in Providence. So I don't want to go on into a long tangent about how the Bruins fail to develop players in Providence. I mean, that's been talked about enough. And we know how bad it is. So we'll see. But I actually like Van Deven. Like I said, the skill's there, but long ways away. Olsen, I really didn't see a lot of him that really impressed me. through the season when I did get a chance to watch him. But again, there's signs of some skills there, and he's got a long way to go as well.
Yeah, I do think that the Bruins will benefit from the college route being an option, because we've seen other players that they've taken, and you could see it at camp from last year to this year with some of the previously drafted players. Dean Letourneau's skating is significantly better. He, yes, he's returning back to BC this season. I still think that's the right move for him.
Mm-hmm.
But even just from last year to this year, you could tell his skating has improved significantly. Credit to his skating coach, credit to the BC staff for working with him as much as they have. And if you need to see or want to see a better example of that, you and I have talked about him a lot. Christian Konstantinsky has actually somewhat learned to skate.
I've heard. So, I'll be watching him a lot this year or this upcoming season. So we'll just see. As much as he's improved, it's still not a NHL worthy.
Absolutely not. But it does go a long way to show what that BC staff and what having the right skating coach can do for someone who's selected in that third round or fourth round with a weakness of their skating. There are ways to develop it.
When it comes to Letourneau, we also got to thank the Ottawa Senators skating coach, because as our good friend Court Lalonde reported last Christmas, he was there on holidays and stopped in the rink, and there was Dean working with the Senators skating coach, and told Court right there, and we've talked about it, that no, he's going back to college next season. He still has some things to work on, and skating was one of them. And he goes home and works out in the summertime, so no doubt he was working out with her as well.
Absolutely. And Dean makes a great transition into another NCAA topic in just a second. Before we make that transition, though, overall, fans freaking out because only one right shot defenseman was taken in this draft class. Are you worried about that? Do you feel like they didn't address that need? Or do you feel like because all of these guys are long-term projects, that getting one was fine, but really trying to ensure that the entire pipeline was addressed? Because you got a couple forwards, a couple goaltenders, and a couple defensemen, one on each side.
No, I'm not worried about it one bit, because where they were picking, I didn't have a single right shot defenseman in that area. Even if they had kept their first round pick, I didn't have a right shot defenseman in that area. So I'm not disappointed at it at all. Like we complain as fans that we want them to take the best player available, whatever that may mean to every individual person. Like I said, other than the Ivanov pick, which I've come around on, I think they were fine with what they did. I don't see a right shot defenseman that they should have taken over any one of those players.
I mean, when you're taking players that aren't going to be ready for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're not fixing a problem right now. You're trying to look ahead to the problems that you might have down the road, and those aren't going to be the same ones you have today. So you have to find a different way to address that. Unless you're picking in the top 3 or 4 or 5 picks, you're not getting a today player in that draft.
No, so, you're not getting a today, tomorrow, or the day after player either. Every one of them is
yeah.
Every one of them is years away. So
yeah, again, future problems. You sign him, you fix them now. So real quick, circling back to Dean and BC, like I said, totally understand that this is his last year there. As long as he has a good season, if there's any setbacks, you might see him return for another year. So I do think you need to hold a couple contract spots for some of these college kids this year, because you have a crop that's coming up. I mentioned Cole Spicer a little while ago, had a solid development camp. He is returning back to the NCAA. He's had some issues in that league with eligibility and stuff, but He's fought his way back in. Puckpedia right now lists that they need to sign him by June 1st of this year. Not correct. Can you, one, give us the correct information on that?
It's
and
next year.
And two, do you think he is someone that they could legitimately want to have a roster spot for?
Yeah, so because he's returning to college, it's August 15th of 1937. I've always liked Spicer. He has skill. He has talent. The education issues have been solved with him. Now it's which is caused by the few concussions that he's had, and he's working through those. If he can get, he's fine. Like I said, he always liked him. Whether we're going to have consistency with him because of the issues that he's dealing with.
Yeah, and certainly something that we want to see him get through. You and I have been rooting for him throughout all these issues, and it's been, I don't want to say tough to watch, but from the outside, it really has been, because you want to see the kid succeed. Also, in 2027, they'll have to make decisions on Chris Pelosi, Beckett Hendrickson, and Casper Nason, and I believe Ryan Walsh was a decision for this season. No, he's already in Providence. My mistake. But those other three guys, Nason, Hendrickson, Pelosi, Letourneau will probably need a decision this year just based on his projection on how he's played, but they do have another year on him. Those three guys, do you think they're going to hold roster spots for those guys for the end of the season?
Walsh is not in Providence. He's going back to college.
I thought he was going to
Cornell.
Providence. Oh, well, I don't have that note in front of me. That's fine. That makes sense, though.
He's going back to college. He's actually captain. I think he's going to be captain of the team. The one that's an NHL contract at the end of the season is Dean Letourneau. They're not going to burn years off of guys like Walsh or Pelosi or anything. I mean, they just don't do it. They didn't do it with Lysell and ended up trading him. The only thing an NHL contract is Dean Letourneau, and the other probably get AHL contracts to finish out the year, and then NHL contracts starting for 27, 28.
Okay, fair enough.
Spots, and even if they do, they've got 41 contracts signed to date. They got lots and lots of room.
They do. I just didn't know what your thoughts were as far as earmarking some. Tyler does ask, do you expect Will Zellers to go back to college for a third year? Obviously, he's going back this year. Would you expect him to go back a third year based on what you expect from him this season in college?
Depends how the season goes. Right now, I would say yes, but that could change at any point through the season. We have a habit too much in the development. Development camp is one 3-on-3 scrimmage. It's all it is. You're not learning anything from a 3-on-3 scrimmage. I want to see how he does throughout the season, but way too much emphasis, in my opinion, is put on development camp.
Hey, they also do a 5-on-5, okay? They also do a 5-on-5. So, but to your point, yeah, I know, one. But to your point, they're also going against other players out of that caliber. You're not seeing them go against NHL players. They're not in an NHL preseason game. Like, they're going against competition of their level. So when you see someone like Dean stand out, he should. If you expect him to truly take the next step after BC, he should stand out at a camp like that, and he did, which is good. Some of the other guys, they had to work up to it.
It's not just standing out. To show progression, you got to show that you've worked on things that needed working on, and we won't find that out until they get into game action on a regular basis. You're not going to learn it from a short development camp.
No. Again, what you're going to see from there is you're going to see some flashes of the talent. Again, why they picked some of these players, which you did see. But to your point, we've got to watch them in some game action this year. Now that they've been selected, you know who to look for. But it'll be interesting. So to the big club, as I mentioned, they did make some other moves, some other signings since our last show last week, which include bringing back old friend Connor Clifton, trading for William Borgen from the New York Rangers. Hopefully, I got that name right at least. They've traded Joonas Korpisalo, so it looks like Michael DiPietro has an opportunity to grab that backup role. They've signed a few other guys for Providence. I think a lot of those names we don't have to necessarily take a deep dive into, but of those moves, let's say which one stood out to you the most?
I'm not surprised they moved Salo. I know they were in talks for a while about moving him. I mentioned Edmonton had asked. Last week we talked about on this show that there was a team that, as part of the Gasso trade, was interested, but required them moving out another player, another spot to bring Korpisalo in. That didn't materialize. So that they moved from him. They're going to give DP. What about one of the Providence guys brought in is Yuri Patera, who has NHL experience as a backup to DiPietro in case he falters. We forget Patera was actually a Boston Bruin for about 5 days 2 seasons ago when they claimed him off waivers from the Canucks when Jeremy Swayman was holding out. And when Swayman signed, they put him on waivers and Vancouver reclaimed him. So there's an interesting tidbit. But he's a safety net in case DiPietro falters because he does have some NHL experience. I'm surprised they didn't move on from Henry Jokiharju. Unfortunately, and Sweeney mentioned this publicly, taking some decisions based on McAvoy's 6-game suspension to start the season. I have no issue with Borgen. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people don't like the cap hit. A lot of people aren't used to what the new salary cap is doing to contracts nowadays. So his $4.1 million is fine. They've got a lot of questions on defense. They've got like 10 defensemen, 9 on one-way contracts, but you can count Frederic Brunet because they're not going to put him through waivers. So they've got 10 defensemen there. What are they going to do? I don't know, but I would think they're going to continue to shop Jokiharju because I don't see him on this roster under Marco Sturm. Marco Sturm just doesn't trust him. But based on how Matt McIlvain wants to coach the defense and the breakout he wants to use, Yoki Haru is exactly the type of defenseman you want. So I don't know where they're going to go from there. I know in my mock lineups, I don't have Jonathan Aspro there, and people are complaining. You know, I don't think Aspro is all everybody makes him out to be. I mean, Borgen come in and he would have been 4 on this team in zone breakout success. Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy was second. Nikita Zadorov was third, and Borgen would be fourth. Jonathan Aspro was at the bottom of the list with a 9% success rate at moving the puck out of the defensive zone. So I don't know how he fits into the system.
I think
the Bruins also didn't fill 2 left. Yeah, but they also left 2 spots open on the left side in Providence. So is that Aspro and Harris? Is it Brunet? I don't know, but they didn't fill those spots because they figure somebody from the NHL is going down there.
Yeah, I mean, right now Puckpedia has Jordan Harris listed there, you know, and there's a few others that I think could end up there. And I think some of these decisions are just going to come down to camp because, like you mentioned your mock lineup, and I mean, right now, none of these contracts that you kind of hope they are able to dump, move on from, or, you know, like they have a couple veterans in this lineup. You mentioned on the back end, you know, Yoki Haru is one of them. Borgen now, like those are guys that can help push. Connor Clifton can push. You know, and then on the offense, you've got guys like Sean Corrali, Alex Steves, Michael Easimont. Like, if you come into camp with those guys and they're, for whatever reason, making the roster over some of the other kids that you have, like James Hagens, either Hagens had a really bad camp and showed that he's not NHL ready, or they're falling back into their old practice of relying on the young players to get through waivers or are waiver exempt. You know, Patra would be another one to look at. I think this year they're going to give more rein to Sweeney to say, you know, a player like Michael Easimont, we are okay with burying as much of his salary in Providence as we can if it means Matty Patra's on this team instead.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Michael Easimont should not be on this roster. If Hagen's in Providence for anybody on the roster, I'm done with this team. I've had it. If they try to put Matt Patra through waivers for Alex Steves or Michael Easimont to be on this roster, I've had it with this team. Absolutely had it. It just stupid. And you know, there'll be people that dislike me, but Easimont, Yoki Haru, if they can't move them, shouldn't be on this roster. Alex Steves as a 13th forward, okay, but I'm not risking putting Matt Patra through waivers or sending James Hagens to Providence to keep Alex Steves. Absolutely no way. That's sheer stupidity. I don't care who the coach coming in is. They can bring in Jesus Christ himself, but they're not going to develop those 2 guys in Providence. Absolutely not.
No, I agree with it, and I think you and I will fairly rip them for those kinds of decisions if that's what they make. I think they're now, like you said, looking at Providence in a little bit of a different manner. We are starting to kind of see how they're looking at it, and they're okay with putting some bigger money down there if it's for the betterment of the success of the big club. And, you know, there's a little bit more of the freedom to not throw bad money after bad money. Like the easy money, it's already spent. So if he's not going to help the NHL club, put him on waivers. The worst case scenario is he ends up in Providence and you pay him anyway. Best case scenario, someone looks at him and snags him off the waiver wire and you are rid of the contract.
All he's going to cost you is $225,000. So what? I look. I know that the Bruins hate a lot of. I hate that I say a lot of things against the team publicly, and that's you know, there's one or two times that they've messaged me. You know, can you? Anyway, irrelevant. If you go to my tweet yesterday about the whole issue regarding that supposed Zadorov thing, where I made my tweet. One of the things I do is I go to see who liked or retweeted it, and when I see three people that actually work for the Boston Bruins that actually like the tweet, I know where it stands. Unless Nikita Zadorov comes out and says, yeah, they asked me. And Nikita Zadorov, let me say, is the type of person that will come out and say something if he's asked by anybody in the media. If somebody asks him, did you kill a deal to Edmonton? He will admit it. He's just the type of person that will admit it. But like I say, when three people that actually work for the Bruins come out and like the tweet, I know that that I've touched the right spot. But I also know that they hate some of the things that I say. And I've received messages from one or two of them that says, hey, you know, can you tone it down a bit? Well, no, I'm not going to tone it down. It's, you know, they don't pay my salary. I don't make money off the Boston Bruins. Why would I tone it down?
Right. And you don't have credentials to put at risk or anything like that. So,
no.
You know, and fans love your voice. So, and what you have to say. So, and I know I've seen some reports out there trying to, I don't know if the intent is to counteract what you said or whatever, but Zadorov's agent is the same agent as the two Russians that Don Sweeney picked in the draft. So, and he's worked with Dan it's Milstein, right?
Yeah.
I'm remembering it right. He's worked with Milstein for other clients before. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Dan Vladar one of his clients? Like,
yes.
GMs know agents, and they're going to have conversations, and they're going to have meetings, and sometimes the conversation is just going to be, hey, how are the wife and kids? But sometimes they're going to be like, hey, you know, we're talking with Edmonton about maybe a nurse trade, and your client's name came up. We're not thrilled to do it, but is it something that you think he might be open to? No? Great. We will tell Edmonton that that's not an option because we didn't want to do it anyway. Are those talks? Are those formal conversations? Like, it's not a formal trade request. You know, like, everybody makes semantics of what's actually said. These people just have normal conversations with people that they know, especially when you're going to be looking at drafting two of these agents' other clients. You're going to stand there and chat for a little while.
Especially at the draft at the combine.
Right. Is there anything about this kid we don't know? Like, simple things. Sometimes it just ain't that deep.
And because you're talking Europeans, it's okay. So what's the plan? Does he have a contract in Europe right now? Who holds his rights? Is he planning to go there? Could be 101 different questions. It doesn't necessarily mean, especially when you're at the combine talking about 100 different players that are there. It doesn't mean that they're asking, hey, well, Nikita waive his no trade clause.
Right. And even if the question came up that, hey, we're targeting a player from Edmonton and, we think they're going to ask about your client. How do you think he would feel about it? Oh, he loves it in Boston. I don't think that's somewhere he would consider going. I'll talk to him about it if there's a deal in place, but I'm not sure he really loves it, in Boston right now. Okay, great. As much as we love him here, we don't want to move him, so we'll try to talk to him about a different player. Like, it's not that hard.
I don't think that happens at the draft combine. If the conversations going on there are to get information on the players.
Yeah, and especially the context of the chat.
Yeah, especially with the agents, because you want to know when are they projected to go. Excuse me, to the KHL, or when are they projected to go to the SHL? Do they have an agreement in place with the team? Are they under contract? Hey, the transfer rule with Sweden, how soon can we get him over?
Another big one, what other teams are interested in him? Because if you've got pick 56 overall and you're interested in Ivanov, but you know that the Blues are ahead of you 4 times and they like him too, like at a certain point, you've got to sit there and go, do we try to move up? Is this a team that we need to target to get ahead of? Like, and just using him as one example, but that has to happen throughout the entire draft.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
I told you the information I got. I will take it for. Let me get it up here. Where are we here? So I asked him. I said, "So can you tell me the players that were involved?" And he said to me, "No, Dom." He says, "I'm not going to go that far." And I said, "Come on, we almost blank. You can tell me." And his response was laugh out loud.
So definitely straight from the horse's mouth there. And to his point of, not sharing that information, the trade didn't happen. Nurse is now in San Jose. So whether it was Zadorov or not, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter now.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And quite frankly, as I've said before, if a team does call on any player, whether it's Zadorov or, Swayman, whomever, Don Sweeney's job is to at least listen.
Mm-hmm.
So would I be surprised?
I can tell you who everybody was calling about.
Go ahead. Share that with people.
Dean Letourneau.
There you go.
Everybody was asking for Dean Letourneau.
And I don't blame them. He's a very, very wanted commodity as a large center who can play. So that should tell you something.
I think his upside is top line center. I've always said that's what his upside was. Even when he was struggling with 3 points in his freshman season at BC, I said, just relax, people. This guy's got top center potential.
Yeah, we
actually think his
drum for a while.
You know how much I love James Higgins. To me, Dean's got higher upside.
Oh yeah, for
He's
sure.
Got higher upside. It's Higgins has a higher floor, which makes him the better prospect at this point.
Yeah, and he's already into the pro rankings and that sort of thing. But like you said, higher floor is more secure. But the upside with, you could legitimately be looking at your version of a Tage Thompson with Dean Letourneau.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, unless you're getting the equivalent of a Ryan O'Reilly, which helps you right now, you don't even consider moving off of him.
No, I don't think they're moving Dean anytime soon.
There is one name I do want to ask you if you'd consider moving him for, and that's Zach Werenski.
Obviously, I would consider it. You have to consider it because if somebody calls and asks, you've got to consider. But I'd have to know what else is involved,
what the rest of the deal looks like. Yeah, no, yeah. That's kind of what I was expecting from you.
Yeah, it's not happening straight up. Letourneau for Werenski is so it would have to depend on what the rest of the deal looks like. But then I know they're looking for a one center now, and that's what everybody's screaming about. But Letourneau's going to fill that role eventually if he hits his ceiling. So I'm not so worried about the position because I don't think the Bruins are in a win now scenario, and I think they know it.
Yeah,
and that's not what they're building for. They want to be competitive now, yeah, but they know this isn't their window. And if you trade him for Werenski now, you're looking to fill that spot once again.
Yeah, and you could legitimately be looking at a true window opening after one more season if he does make that jump to pro. If that opens your window, you've done this rebuild absolutely the right way.
Yeah.
So the last thing, because I know we're approaching the hour mark, the last thing I want to get your thoughts on before we let folks down here go enjoy their holiday, the Fabian Lysell tenure in Providence is over. Now, I don't want to beat the dead horse of where they failed him, he failed them. It just wasn't a match anymore, and I think we can all agree that it was time for both sides to move on. They ship him to Colorado for Ivan. What did you think of the trade, the value they got in return, and where you see Ivan potentially fitting in long-term with this team?
I think they expect Ivan to battle for a fourth line spot. Maybe Corrali. Who, by the way, I'm told they're trying to move. But again, you're shafting Matt Poitras for that. So I think we can all agree that holding on to Fabian Lysell for 5 years and never really putting him in the opportunity to succeed is a waste of an asset.
Yep.
If you knew in year one that he was not going to be a fit, trade him then when he still has value. Don't wait till 5 years later when he has no value, i.e. Ivan. Just a waste of an asset. Same way as if you don't think Matt Poitras is going to fit, trade him now before you kill his value.
Or someone can claim him off waivers.
I don't know what we're waiting for here.
Are teams still calling at least to try to get Matt Poitras out of this organization?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't be surprised. Look, everything suggests to me that what I've been screaming about for the last 6 months, or maybe even longer if you go back to Jay Leach, that they recognize as an issue with this team. Like they realize that, hey, we might not be able to put Michael DiPietro through waivers this time. We got away with it last year. So we got to move either Joonas or we got to move him. the hope is that we can move Joonas, and they worked hard and they got a deal done. They got him out of there.
I thought they did a good value for him.
Yeah. So they did the right thing, and they're giving DiPietro the opportunity. There's no guarantee he's going to succeed, and they have some concerns. So like I mentioned earlier, they brought in Patera as a safety net just in case. Because who else is there? They're not going to give it to Zajac right away.
No, they're not. No. I figured they would look at someone, who's gone through waivers a few times, like a Calvin Pickard type or a James Reimer type, a veteran like that. I don't mind the Patera signing because at least he's young and there's that upside that if he does end up taking that role from DiPietro, or if DiPietro can't do it, then you at least have another option that might be able to stick around for a few seasons. So,
yeah, you got Borgen. We touched on him earlier, but people are upset at the cap hit. The cap hit is what it is in today's world. We've got to get used to players' salaries are going up. It's as simple as that.
Leo Carlson was just given an offer sheet at $18 million per season.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it. I love seeing this kind of movement because now we've got a week of suspense of whether or not Pat Verbeek is going to match.
Yeah.
And, all these things. And then we saw Barrett Hayden get an offer sheet from New Jersey out of Utah.
Yeah.
Their clock is ticking. So I love these challenges. These are all things. My favorite point to the Carlson one is if you didn't want it to come to this, you should have signed him a year ago. Yeah.
And they did, but the team broke off talks with him. So Verbeek admitted it himself back in January, I think it was, that they had broken off talks. So they stabbed themselves in the back. But Borgen, he's coming to a different system in Boston, one that is better suited to his game. So we'll see how he does. We can't write him off based on the season he had with the New York Rangers.
No, especially with the decisions they're making.
Yeah. And it is, we should touch on Arvidsson and Peak too, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Arvidsson getting the 2x5 in Detroit, and then yesterday it was announced that Andrew Peak took the 1x1 in Utah.
So here's my thoughts on it. Players took a gamble and failed because the report is that the Bruins gave Arvidsson the exact same offer that he signed with Detroit, 2 years, $5 million per, and that he didn't accept it. They were apart on term. The Bruins pivoted, went in a different direction for Peterka. Well, Arvidsson was out. He went to free agency and then finds out that, hey, the market isn't there for me like I thought it would be. And the next best offer was Detroit, who offered exactly what Boston did, and he took it. The same with Pete. Yeah. Sweeney said he was having discussions with his agent way back when. He thought he could, obviously, when he goes to free agency, the market wasn't there, and he has to settle for less than what he was making.
Probably less than what the Bruins were offering him, too.
Yeah, probably. So the Bruins go out and make the trade for Borgen, who is an improvement over Peak. They make it. They sign Clifton, who was an improvement over Peak, and people that say the team took a step back, I see it. I really. You got
No.
Hagen's apparently coming in. You got Minton, who's going to be better. You got Husadinov that's going to be better. You've improved on Peak. You've improved on Yoki Haru. Remains to be seen how the goaltending plays out. I don't see how they're running it back.
Right. Not to mention the fact that they have more than enough contracts. They're over the 23. They'll have to cut it down based on especially the defense, and they still have over $5 million in cap space, and they still have that extra first round draft pick that they got from Toronto. So they still have assets that they can work with to improve this team, because you can move on. You can move on from an Easymont or a Steves and just get a later round draft pick back, or you can package some players together like a Mason Lohrei and a Matthew Poitras and, one of your first round draft picks, and try and get someone who's a little bigger, because you have that cap space.
Yeah, by my math and my 23 man, $6.4 million, and that's with $2 million buried.
Right, that's with $2 million buried. I'm just looking at what Puckpedia has listed right now, and they're at 5.3, and they've got a couple guys down in Providence who, we don't know what that final roster is going to look like. They could actually vie for NHL jobs, and I think right now Sturm and Sweeney are on that same page of, we're going to try to move off of some of these guys. They've got a list that they're trying to move off from. They've got a list of players they're trying to get, to see what they can do to kind of coincide those lists as much as possible. And at the same time, you've got a list of players here that if you went to camp tomorrow, you can feel pretty confident that the best players will win out in a role.
You would hope.
Hopefully they've moved on from that. Anyway, do you have any final thoughts? Because we've just crossed over that hour mark, and I know we want to keep these short. You and I could go back and forth all day, but the fans want to go enjoy their holiday. So do you have any final thoughts?
No. I think we pretty much covered it, unless somebody's got a question that you may have missed. I can't see any of the comments, so.
No, I mean, we got a couple comments in there agreeing and kind of, that sort of stuff. So we do want to thank everyone who's stuck through some of those earlier audio issues as well. We appreciate the patience, and thanks everybody for tuning in today. Go Bees.
Go Bees.
Welcome to the Dom.Hockey Podcast, proudly presented by Bench Rates. Created by a former hockey player, Bench Rates uses a proprietary algorithm to assign a true monetary value to a player's on-ice contributions and lets you compare that value directly to his cap hit. Bench Rates evaluates professional players across leagues worldwide, including the NHL and AHL. Learn more at benchrates.com. Also presented by McKeen's Hockey. McKeen's produces the premier NHL draft guide featuring more than 200 player reports and comprehensive rankings. They also deliver in-depth prospect coverage through their annual team-by-team rankings and their trusted hockey pool yearbook. Visit mckeens.com and subscribe for just $16